October 17, 1993. Minneapolis, Minnesota. 23-year-old Jeanie Childs came home from her night shift, unlocked her apartment door, and stepped into a nightmare that has never ended. She was stabbed 38 times. Her bloody footprints walked out of the bedroom and simply vanished. 32 years later, those footprints are still screaming. The wind off the Mississippi is sharp enough to cut skin. It is 3:47 a.m. when Jeanie Childs parks her beat-up Chevy Cavalier behind the red brick building on the 2400 block of Clinton Avenue. She is 23, tired, beautiful in the way people who work too hard often are. Her nurse's aide scrubs are still spotted with someone else's blood from the nursing home shift she just finished. She climbs the back stairs humming an En Vogue song under her breath. Key in the lock. Turns. Opens. Inside apartment 106, the lights are off. That is wrong. She always leaves the kitchen light on. She steps inside anyway. The attack is instant and wordless. A shadow moves faster than thought. The first stab catches her under the left breast. The second punches through her throat. She tries to scream but only gurgles. Jeanie fights like a woman who has always had to fight. She claws, bites, kicks. She makes it from the bedroom to the living room, leaving a trail of blood that looks like a map of desperation. 38 wounds in total. Defensive slashes on both forearms. Deep punctures in her back as she tried to crawl away. Her right hand nearly severed trying to grab the knife. Yet somehow, in the middle of all that dying, Jeanie does something impossible. She stands up. She walks. Bare feet soaked in her own blood. The footprints start in the bedroom. Perfect, clear, size 7 prints in bright arterial red. They march through the living room. They turn the corner into the kitchen. They stop dead in front of the refrigerator. Then they simply disappear. No smeared drag marks. No bloody handprints on the counter. No signs of being carried. Just footprints that walk straight to the edge of the world and step off. Police arrive at 4:12 a.m. The neighbor upstairs heard the struggle, thought it was another domestic, waited until the silence felt worse than the noise. The first officer through the door vomits in the hallway. Jeanie is on her back in the kitchen, legs folded beneath her like she finally sat down to rest. Her eyes are open, fixed on the ceiling. One hand still reaching toward the phone on the wall, 6 inches away. The knife is missing. The killer took it with him. Or her. Detectives find the back door still locked from the inside. Chain in place. Deadbolt thrown. Windows painted shut since 1978. The only way in or out is the front door Jeanie herself unlocked. Yet no neighbor saw anyone leave. No footsteps in the hallway. No blood in the stairwell. Just those perfect footprints that end in the middle of the kitchen floor like a sentence cut off mid-word. By dawn, the entire building is a crime scene. Reporters gather outside in the cold. Jeanie's mother arrives still wearing bedroom slippers, screaming a sound no human throat should make. And in the silence between flashes of police cameras, the bloody footprints wait. They have waited ever since. Beautiful, haunted souls. If those footprints are already walking through your mind tonight, subscribe right now and ring the bell. We are going to follow them for 32 years until they finally lead somewhere. Your light is the only thing that can warm a case this cold. Thank you for stepping inside with me. His name is Marcus Tate, 26 years old. 6'3", soft-spoken, the kind of handsome that makes nurses whisper. He is the first person detectives want to talk to, and the last person they can find. Marcus was supposed to pick Jeanie up after her shift. He never showed. His alibi is paper thin. Asleep on a friend's couch in St. Paul after drinking too much malt liquor. 3 friends swear he never left. None of them can look detectives in the eye while they swear it. By noon on October 17th, Marcus is sitting in an interrogation room that smells like burnt coffee and fear. His shoes are taken first. Size 11 Nikes, pristine white. No blood. No mud. No explanation. Detectives lay the crime scene photos on the table like tarot cards of death. Jeanie's bloody footprints. Her severed fingertips still curled from trying to hold the blade. Marcus stares for a long time. Then he does something no one expects. He cries. Not the quiet kind. The ugly whole-body kind that leaves snot on the table. He keeps repeating one sentence. I should have been there, man. I should have been there. But crying is not an alibi. They tear his life apart in 48 hours. Phone records show he called Jeanie's apartment 17 times between 2 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. No answer. Then the calls stop. His last outgoing call at 3:29 a.m. is to a burner phone that pings a tower 2 blocks from Clinton Avenue. They find the knife on October 19th. Wrapped in a blood-soaked t-shirt, buried under autumn leaves in Cedar Riverside 4 miles away. A 10-inch chef's knife with a black rubber handle. Jeanie's blood. Marcus's fingerprints on the handle, clear as day. Case closed. That is what the newspapers scream on October 20th. Marcus is arrested walking out of a corner store with a pack of Newports and tears still drying on his face. He does not run. He simply puts his hands behind his back and says, "Tell her mama I'm sorry." But something is wrong. The footprints never match Marcus's shoes. Size 11 leaves a print almost 2 inches longer than the bloody size 7s that stopped in the kitchen. The lab confirms it twice, then a third time just to be sure. Defense attorneys tear into the timeline. The friend's couch is 29 minutes away in good traffic. At 3:47 a.m. there is no good traffic. Marcus would have needed wings to kill her, clean up, bury the knife 4 miles away, and still be snoring on that couch by 4:15. The burner phone is never recovered. The t-shirt the knife was wrapped in is not Marcus's brand. And most chilling of all, the stab wounds are downward, angled for someone taller than Jeanie's 5'4", but the deepest wounds are perfectly horizontal, as if the killer knelt to finish the job. Marcus spends 14 months in Hennepin County Jail awaiting trial. He writes Jeanie letters every single day. They are returned unopened after her mother refuses to touch anything he breathed on. Then, on December 12, 1994, the charges are dropped. Not enough evidence, the prosecutor says. The footprints saved him. Marcus walks out of jail a free man and a ghost. He moves to Chicago 3 weeks later. No one hears from him again for 29 years. Back at the apartment, the bloody footprints are photographed, measured, pored over. Then the landlord bleaches the floor because new tenants are waiting. The prints fade, but they never really leave. Years turn into decades. Detectives retire. Files gather dust. Jeanie's mother keeps a candle burning in her window every single night. And somewhere in the city, a pair of size 7 feet that left perfect bloody prints in 1993 still walks free. Beautiful, restless hearts. If the wrong man behind bars is keeping you awake tonight, subscribe and ring the bell. We are 32 years into this nightmare and the footprints are about to start moving again. Your light is the only thing that can force them out of the shadows. Thank you for walking these blood-stained floors with me. October 17, 2013. 20 years to the day. Minneapolis is locked in the first hard freeze. Jeanie Childs' mother, Dolores, stands in the cold at the exact spot where the footprints ended. She is 72 now, bent but unbroken. She places a single red rose on the cracked linoleum that was once Jeanie's kitchen floor. The building is abandoned, windows boarded, yet Dolores still has a key the city never took back. She whispers the same sentence she has whispered every year. "I'm still looking, baby." In 2013, the case is a ghost file. One banker's box in the basement of the cold case unit. Inside, faded Polaroids, a cracked evidence envelope, and a single vaginal swab sealed in 1993 that no one ever tested because DNA was science fiction to them back then. Detective Sergeant Lila Olson pulls the box on a Tuesday because she cannot sleep. She is 34, the same age Jeanie would have been if the knife had missed. Lila opens the envelope with gloved hands that still tremble. The swab is brittle, stained rust brown. But it is there. Skin cells, sweat, semen. A microscopic signature left by the man who knelt to finish what he started. The new lab at the BCA can pull a profile from less than a picogram. They do it in 9 days. The result is not Marcus Tate. It is not any name in the original file. It is an unknown male. Full profile. 23 markers. Clean enough to upload to every database on Earth. Nothing pings in 2013. Nothing in 2014. Nothing for 6 more years. Dolores dies in February 2020, still waiting. She makes Lila promise on her deathbed. Don't let her footprints be the last thing anyone remembers. Lila keeps the rose from the abandoned kitchen floor pressed inside the case file like a bookmark in hell. Then, on March 3, 2024, everything changes. A new investigative genetic genealogy team uploads the unknown male profile to a public database. They build family trees from distant cousins who spit in cups for fun. The tree narrows to one branch. One living man. One name. Ronald Keith Drummond. Born 1965. Lives quietly in Burnsville, 20 minutes south of Clinton Avenue. Married. 2 grown daughters. Works maintenance at a junior high school. In 1993, Ronald Drummond was 28, lived 3 blocks from Jeanie's apartment, and was on parole for aggravated assault with a knife. He was never a suspect. He was never even interviewed. On April 17, 2024, detectives follow him to a quick trip. He buys a coffee, black, no sugar. He throws the cup in the trash without crushing it. They retrieve the cup. They swab the rim. They wait 48 hours that feel like 48 years. The DNA is a perfect match. 1 in 7 billion. Ronald Drummond is arrested at 6:03 a.m. on April 19, 2024, while watering petunias in his front yard. He does not run. He does not speak. He simply looks at the warrant, then at the sky, and says, "I always knew the floor would talk one day." In the interrogation room, he finally tells the truth no one wanted after 30 years. He says he met Jeanie at a bus stop 2 weeks earlier. She was kind when he was drunk. She gave him a cigarette and a smile. He fixated. On the night of October 17th, he waited in the shadows of the back stairwell. When she unlocked the door, he pushed in behind her. The attack was rage and lust and terror all at once. He remembers her fighting. He remembers her blood on his hands. He remembers her standing up, bleeding from everywhere, walking toward the kitchen like she was going to call someone who could still save her. He remembers panicking, wiping the knife on his own shirt, stepping out of his shoes so he would leave no prints, carrying the shoes in one hand and the knife in the other. He remembers walking out the front door barefoot, closing it softly behind him, and disappearing into the night while Jeanie's footprints stopped forever in the middle of her kitchen. He kept the shoes for years. Burned them in 2001 when he got religion. Never thought the floor itself would testify. Beautiful, trembling souls. If 30 years of silence just shattered inside your chest, let the pieces become something sharp and useful. Subscribe now, ring the bell, share Jeanie's name until every cold case feels the heat of new eyes. Her footprints walked alone for 3 decades. They don't have to walk anymore. Thank you for carrying them this far. April 19, 2024. Burnsville, Minnesota. The morning is soft, almost kind. Ronald Keith Drummond stands in his front yard in slippers, watering petunias that will never bloom again. Detectives pull up without sirens. They do not need them. He sees the warrant, sets the watering can down, and waits for the cuffs like a man who has been wearing invisible ones for 31 years. Inside the interview room at Hennepin County, the temperature is kept deliberately cold. Drummond sits hunched, 60 years old now, hair gone gray at the temples, hands folded like he is praying they will stay attached to his wrists. They start with the shoes. He tells them he carried them out in his left hand, soles up, so no blood would drip. He walked barefoot across the hallway carpet, down the stairs, out the back door he had jimmied earlier that night. He remembers the concrete was freezing. He remembers thinking the cold was punishment already starting. He walked 3 blocks to the Mississippi River Trail. Threw the shoes in the water one at a time. Watched them sink like stones. Then he walked home barefoot, bleeding from Jeanie's scratches, crying so hard he could barely see. He showered with bleach until his skin blistered. Burned every stitch of clothing in his apartment incinerator. Went to work the next day like nothing had happened. For 31 years he lived 20 minutes away. Drove past Clinton Avenue every single week. Got married. Raised daughters. Taught Sunday school. Never missed a mortgage payment. He says the memory lived in his feet. Every time he walked on linoleum he felt Jeanie's blood between his toes. Every time he stepped into a kitchen he saw her footprints ending where his began. In 2001 he found Jesus in a halfway house chapel. He confessed to the pastor every sin except the one that mattered. The pastor told him God forgives everything. Drummond believed him until the day the detectives knocked. Now the details spill out like poison he has been swallowing for decades. He tells them Jeanie begged. Not for her life. For her mother. She kept saying, "Please don't let my mama find me like this." He tells them she looked at him when she stood up in the kitchen, blood pouring from her throat, and said, "You don't have to do this." He answered by stabbing her twice more while she tried to dial the wall phone. He tells them he still hears the click of the receiver falling when her strength finally gave out. Detectives ask why. He has no answer that makes sense. He was drunk. He was angry at the world. He wanted something soft and kind and decided to break it. He cries only once. When they show him a current photo of Jeanie's niece, now 29, holding the same red rose Dolores used to leave on the floor. The niece looks exactly like Jeanie at 23. Drummond puts his head on the table and sobs so hard the microphone distorts. On May 28, 2024, he pleads guilty to first-degree murder. No trial. No defense. Just a quiet voice in a packed courtroom saying the words everyone waited 31 years to hear. I killed Jeanie Childs. I took the knife. I left her footprints to walk alone. I am guilty. I am sorry. I am ready. The judge sentences him to life without parole. Lowell Prison. General population. He does not ask for protective custody. Before they take him away, Jeanie's niece stands. She is shaking. She asks the judge if she can speak. Permission granted. She walks to the podium carrying the pressed red rose from the abandoned kitchen floor. She places it on the rail in front of Drummond. She says only this: "My auntie's footprints stopped in the kitchen. Yours stop here. May they never walk free again." Drummond looks at the rose, then at the niece, then at the floor. He nods once. The bailiffs lead him out. Beautiful, weary travelers. If 31 years of footsteps finally finding their owner has left you raw, let that rawness become resolve. Subscribe now, ring the bell, share Jeannie's name until every cold case feels the weight of new feet walking toward justice. She waited 3 decades for someone to follow her prints. We did. Thank you for never letting them fade. October 17, 2025. 32 years to the day. The old building on Clinton Avenue is gone now, replaced by a small community garden boxed in by chain link. At the exact spot where Jeanie Childs' bloody footprints stopped, someone has planted a single red rose bush. It blooms every year, even through Minnesota winters. Jeanie never got to turn 30. She never got to see her nieces grow up, never got to wear the nurse's scrubs she dreamed of, never got to dance at a wedding or hold a child of her own. But today, 32 years after she walked those final steps, the floor finally speaks her name again. The guilty plea made headlines for one day. Then the world moved on. But Jeannie's family never did. Her niece, Jasmine, now 31, stands in the garden holding her own daughter on her hip. The little girl is named Jeanie Monique. She is 3 years old and already knows the story of the auntie she never met who fought so hard the floor still remembers. Jasmine lays the traditional red rose at the base of the bush. She tells her daughter, softly, "This is where your great auntie became a warrior. She walked when she should have fallen. She left footprints so we would never forget how strong love can be, even when it's bleeding." Dolores never lived to see this day, but her candle still burns in Jasmine's window every night. The promise was kept. Ronald Drummond is 59 now. He lives in a cell the size of Jeannie's old kitchen. He has no visitors. He asked for none. Every October 17th he is allowed 1 sheet of prison paper. He writes the same 4 words on it, folds it into a tiny square, and slips it under his door for the guard. The words are always, "I'm still sorry." The guard throws them away. Some apologies are 32 years too late. But this story is not about him anymore. It is about the girl who loved En Vogue and strawberry ice cream, who worked double shifts to send money to her mama, who kept a jar of change on her dresser labeled, "Nursing School, Someday," who smiled at strangers on the bus and gave away her last cigarette to a man who would later take her life. It is about the mother who kept a candle burning until her own light went out. About the niece who grew up tracing bloody footprints in photographs because they were the only path she had to her aunt. About the detectives who refused to let a single rose die in an evidence box. It is about every cold case family who measures time in anniversaries instead of birthdays, who still sets an extra plate at Thanksgiving, who still says goodnight to an empty bedroom. Today, the Minneapolis Police Department hangs a new plaque in the cold case unit. It is small, bronze, unassuming. It reads, "In memory of Jeanie Childs, October 17, 1993. Her footprints led us here. May every lost child leave prints this brave." At dusk, Jasmine gathers the people who love Jeanie best. They form a circle around the rose bush. They do not pray for justice anymore. Justice finally came. Instead, they light 32 candles, 1 for every year Jeanie was stolen from them. They sing the En Vogue song she was humming the night she came home. Their voices carry over the city, soft, steady, unbroken. The little girl, Jeanie Monique, reaches out and touches the leaves of the rose bush. She is too young to understand everything but old enough to feel something sacred. She looks up at her mother and asks the question that will echo long after the candles burn down. "Mommy, will the floor always remember Auntie Jeanie?" Jasmine kneels, eye level with her daughter, eye level with tomorrow. "Yes, baby," she whispers. "And so will we." The candles flicker. The footprints that once stopped in terror have finally reached home. Beautiful, quiet souls. This is where Jeanie's story ends and where it lives forever. If her footprints walked across your heart tonight, carry them gently. Subscribe, ring the bell, share her name until every forgotten child has a garden where their story can bloom. We kept the promise Dolores made on her deathbed. Thank you for walking every painful, perfect step with us. Now I leave you with one question to carry into the dark. If someone you loved left bloody footprints that stopped in the middle of a room 32 years ago, how long would you keep walking to find them? Keep walking. Keep remembering. Keep the candle burning. See you in the next case. The light stays on. For Jeanie. For all of them.